when did you then start with the Canadian Navy then?
Oh, it wasn't until 1941, March, April.
And the first ship you were
41.
on there?
Hmm?
First ship you were on was
It was
the...
a Corvette, the Spikenard. She had a name like that because she had been built for the British Navy. And the crew were Canadian to deliver her to Britain so they could put the armaments on her, fit her out for war properly. Rod Knight was the first lieutenant of her. And
And you were, what were you, Dad?
I wasn't in her, I joined her in England.
And what, I thought you were in the war in as soon as it broke out.
Well, it was, but it was in the Merchant Navy.
Oh.
The Merchant Navy was in the war more than anybody,
Right, they
all
were.
through the war.
But
And,
then you didn't join the Canadian Navy then until
year and
1941.
a- Yeah, well, almost 2 years. I was in the merchant service.
Why did you leave the merchant service?
Oh, getting too dangerous.
Good reason, good enough reason. Thought you'd go into minesweeping, less danger. Huh?
Yeah.
Sure, Dad. Wasn't exciting enough, huh? To be in the merchant navy.
Minesweeping wasn't exciting. It was dreadfully boring, and it was sort of fingernail biting thing all the time. You got used to it.
So the Corvettes, how fast a boat were they?
Oh, about 16 knots. Good little anti-submarine.
And they're
ship.
about 100 foot long?
No, 210.
Oh.
210. And very good for hunting, very maneuverable, and ride any sea. You know, they were very buoyant. Well,
That's good.
well built. They were more for whaling. They were whalers, really.
Did you start, so what was your command sequence on the Corvettes then?
Well, I was sub-lieutenant when I joined. And then they had, the Navy, Canadian Navy had a certain rank called a mate for, and they were generally the navigators of the ships. And it was peculiar to ex-merchant Navy people. And after you became 24, you jumped from sub-lieutenant to mate automatically. Meant about another $1.50 a day pay, which was a fair amount at the time. And then you would go to lieutenant, and then lieutenant commander, and then it would just follow through the usual routes, ranks. You know.
And so where were you serving out of? What location, and what was the role of the Corvette then?
Well, anti-submarine work,
Okay.
convoy escort, purely.
And you're going back and
She
forth
was
across
built
the
just
Atlantic?
for that, yeah.
And did you ever see the subs, the German subs?
Well,
or-
not in a Corvette, no. But I did see them in merchant service. I was sunk in the merchant service with them.
Can you tell us about
In
that?
1940. Well, I was in a convoy called SC-7, which left
Long knives.
Sydney, Nova Scotia.
Is that right? The long knives.
Yes, that's right. Left Sydney, Nova Scotia, October the 5th, 1940. And we had 35 ships and one escort.
Go ahead, dear.
One small escort.
Just ignore it.
And anyway, we sailed along and kept the convoy together, except four of them straggled in heavy weather. And it finally came about that we had 20 ships sunk out of the 35.
Wow.
And we had 2 heavily damaged. And the one I was in was blown apart, aft. Still holding together. But
Half.
got 3 torpedoes in her.
Wow.
And she didn't sink. She had a cargo of lumber. And a tug came and got her in with the help of half of the crew. And
When you say half the crew, what do you mean?
well, the 2 boats had gone. The captain's boat, I was in the captain's boat, and we got away from the wreck on the third torpedo hitting us. And the mate on the other side of the boat, it was at night time, of course, always at night, he stayed near the wreck. Not that near, but he could see it all the time. And the next morning he pulled over to it. And as he did so, an aircraft came out. Big Sunderland flying boat came out from Scotland and circled it a few times. And he reckoned that, okay, he spotted this, he'll report this and they'll send a tug, which they did too. And the tug came out the next day and they were still hanging off the wreck. And they went aboard and helped the tug hook up to it and got some stores from her. And the tug towed her to Glasgow and she arrived there 5 or 6 days later. But,
So what size boats were you on then?
well, a little lifeboat.
Lot like.
Yeah, we got picked up the next morning by a Corvette,
Oh.
the Bluebell, a British Corvette.
Was the ship ever put back in service or
Yeah,
scrapped?
she was joined. A new half was put on her.
Light
front.
on there.
Forward half of her
And
was fitted.
On the, so that was the first time you were torpedoed. What was the second time?
Well, that was it. I got 3. We were aboard the ship.
Oh, that ship
we
took
were
3
aboard
torpedoes.
the ship at
The Blairmore.
Blair's Bay. We were aboard the ship when she got the first one at 11 at night. We were still aboard when she got the second one at midnight. And we were still aboard when she got the third one at 1 a.m. And then we left. Well, there was no use staying, you know.
Yeah.
The engines were flooded.